Are you looking to potentially move to Bratislava and want to know the full costs and situation here before you move? Well, you've come to the right place because in this video, I'm going to do a full breakdown of living expenses and relevant income that you might need to move here. And this is going to be a full 2025 breakdown. So bearing in mind the current state of affairs, the current situation, and recent legislation and changes. So you're going to have the most up-to-date and relevant information. With that being said, let's get into it. But before we break down expenses, I want to touch on some disclaimers and some information of current situation here. So in Bratislava, it is changed regarding tax situation. So VAT has changed in Slovakia. It's moved from, I think it was 19 or 20% to now 23%. So this is something to bear in mind because it has certainly raised prices in Slovakia and in Bratislava especially. So this is really something to consider. And this is what I will be considering and giving you more updated information in terms of the expenses breakdown that I will touch on in a moment. But before I do, I have one more thing to mention. There is transactional tax that's being discussed currently. I don't believe it's in place just yet, but should that come in place, then in Slovakia, they're looking to also tax you on any transaction made. So effectively, this will be extra tax on tax you've already paid. So you're actually paying double tax in a way because you've got the VAT tax and then you've got this transactional tax. So this is really something to consider as well. But with those caveats out of the way, with that extra disclaimer and information out of the way, let's break down expenses. And I'm going to bring in my real life situation and example for you so that you have some comparison there. So it really does depend when you're looking to move to Bratislava, if you're maybe living alone or if you have a young family or if it's you and a partner. These are some things that you want to consider. So basically, we've been living in Bratislava. I was living in Bratislava and as two of us, as a couple, and we were staying in a one-bedroom apartment. So we were paying 750 euros per month over the course of 2 years. And at 750 euros per month, that's rent and utility bills included. So gas, electric, water, all included in the price. Now, of course, if we ended up spending more than that extra allowance, so to speak, from the rent to the utility bills, then we'd have to pay extra, but that never happened. And if we didn't use it all up, then we get that money back. So, but now it's important to consider that things have changed in those 2 years and rent is more expensive. And now you're looking between maybe 700 and 900 euros per month, depending on the location. So, well, now this is depending on many factors such as location, condition of the apartment, of the property, and many other factors. So it's important to have this as a general rule of thumb. It should be between maybe 700 and 900. If you can get a bit less, great, but I don't think it's that likely to. Or if you do, the condition is probably not that great. So, and now this is the thing, if you're looking to move to Slovakia or Bratislava on your own, then maybe you just want to rent a room. Now, I had friends who've been renting rooms and they were paying about 200 euros, 250, but it has gone up since they were doing so. They moved out a year ago, I believe it was, and things have changed since then. It's between now 300 and 450 euros for a room. So you're looking at roughly half of having a one-bedroom apartment to yourself if you rent a room. So this is something to consider when we break down everything else and to see whether that might be the right option for you based on your situation. With that said, let's cover groceries. So groceries has gone up quite a bit in the time I've been here. When first moving to Bratislava, it was about probably between 50 and maybe 70, 80 euros per week, based on obviously what you got and how much you needed. And now, because of these tax and general living costs and inflation going up in general, you're looking at between 70 and 100 euros for groceries per week. And this is based on two people. So if we take that high end of 100 euros per week and we take that across the month, then we're looking at 400 euros based on groceries per month. And we add that to the high end of rent of 900, then yeah, you're already looking at 1,300 euros for a month. Now, this is without considering internet, eating out, gym memberships, these sort of things, but I will cover those in a moment. Before I do, though, I think it's important to mention travel costs. So, whether you're looking to work in Bratislava or maybe you're looking to work in Vienna, which is the closest, which I believe is the closest European capitals to each other, the two closest European capitals to each other, Bratislava, capital of Slovakia, and Vienna, capital of Austria, 1 hour apart on the train. So it is a commuting option to work in Vienna and live in Bratislava. With that in mind, let's cover the travel costs in Bratislava and going to Vienna. So first off, within Bratislava, there is an option to have a yearly pass, which allows you to take the buses and the trams and basically public transport within Bratislava. Now, when we paid for this last year, it was 200, I think it was between 225 euros and 250 euros. I can't remember the exact price, but it was roughly around that margin, and that's for the whole year. Now, I was looking, it's closer to 300 euros. It's probably going to hit that 300 euros mark maybe within the next year or so, but let's see. I hope not, but yeah, if it does, that's something to bear in mind as well, potentially 300 euros. However, you can spread that cost, so to speak, through the year. But that's 300 euros for the year. Then if you're looking to go to Vienna to commute, I was paying, and this was maybe a month or two ago, 19 euro per trip to Bratislava, from Bratislava to Vienna. However, you do have options of monthly passes. Now, with these monthly passes, you can travel back and forth as much as you like for that month, and you're looking at roughly 150 euros. It's probably gone up slightly because this is before the VAT changes, so I think it's closer to maybe 175 now. And yeah, that's another thing to bear in mind. If you're looking to commute, then you're going to have to add 175 euros per month potentially to your overall expenses, to your overall monthly expenses. However, you can, of course, drive. So if you're looking to drive, then it's going to roughly cost you between 50 and 70 euros to fill up your tank. So that's another thing to consider. Of course, you've got wear and tear on the car, but if you're looking to drive, then that's another option. And like I said, roughly 50 to 70 euros to fill a tank. Now, also to mention about internet. So you have internet options, and it can be as little as 25 euros. But if you're looking to have a fully fledged package, so you're looking for TV, sports, etc., then you're looking to maybe pay up to 100 euros. So depending on the internet package you're looking to have, then roughly it could spend 100 euros on this. And finally, on the expense, and the final two things I want to mention on expenses, firstly is gym membership. I've been paying 85 euros a month for gym membership, but this is considering I have a swimming pool available, jacuzzis, sauna, and different other services. However, if you're just looking purely for a gym, then it's going to be less than this amount. However, some gyms are more, but it depends on location. It depends on area of Bratislava, and they really can vary from gym to gym. But generally speaking, I would say you're looking potentially to pay between 50 you're probably looking to spend anywhere from maybe 40 euros to 100 euros per month. So depending on how you want to look at it, you can just go by the high end and calculate that way. Lastly, I want to touch on eating out. Now, again, this comes to many different factors. Of course, it depends if you're looking for fine dining and or you're just a pub grub, let's say. It depends where you're looking to go. But per person, roughly speaking, you're looking at between 20 and 50 euros per person. Like I said, depends on the area, it depends if you're in Old Town and various factors. But as a general rule, looking at 20 to maybe 50 euros per person. It can be less, can be more. Now that we've touched expenses, I feel like we've adequately covered expenses. We can move shortly to income, but before I do, I just want to say thank you so much to Adam who recommended me to. Thank you so much to Adam who asked for this video, who asked for this breakdown. And if you have any questions or have any other suggestions of videos, anyone, and if you'd like to suggest any other videos for me to cover, then please do leave it in the comments and I will take a look, and I would happily either provide a video or I can provide a comment on the question, depending on what it is and depending on if I think it makes more sense to do a video. So thanks again to Adam for suggesting and asking for this information. And let's move on to income so that you have a full picture of, okay, is this affordable? Can I move to Bratislava or not? So let's first cover the average income in Slovakia. Now, the average gross income in Slovakia is between 1,400 euro and 1,800 euro, with the average after-tax income of between 1,100 euro and 1,300 euro. So based on the expenses, I think you can quickly see if you're on an average salary and you're on your own, you're going to struggle. Especially you're going to struggle with a one-bedroom apartment to yourself. However, you can lower those costs by having renting a room, like I said earlier. So, or if there's two of you, then and you're both on an average income, let's say in Slovakia and in Bratislava, then you could be okay. And it might not be so much of a struggle for sure, but on your own, it's a struggle. It's very difficult. Now, for the average gross salary in Vienna, for those of whom potentially looking to commute, bearing in mind this is pretty much dead in Vienna center, so these figures, maybe you can take them with some pinch of salt or some buffer, but the average gross salary in Vienna, you're looking at between 3,400 and 3,800 euros. So you can already see a significant difference between the wages here. And an average after-tax salary in Vienna of between 2,500 euros and 2,700 euros. This is roughly speaking, like I said, you might not be on average, you might be on less, you might be on more, but roughly speaking, this is the average income. So you can quickly see why a lot of people, even like myself, I was commuting and I've been commuting and working in Vienna, well, just outside of Vienna, whilst living in Bratislava, because it makes a huge difference. So it's really important to consider if you're going to be living alone, or if you're coming with a couple, or if you're coming with a young family, where you want to work and your situation. Because if you're getting income from Slovakia and there's two of you, you could be fine. It might be a little bit of a struggle, but you could be fine. However, if there's only just yourself coming and you're on Slovakia wage and it's average, you might struggle. Even if it's slightly above average, you might struggle unless you rent a room. But there's many options here. And like I said, if one of you has a job in Vienna or on outskirts of Vienna, you have a job in Austria and you're on average salary there, then it will be much easier and much then it'd be much easier and a good way of life for you because you won't be struggling too much. But yeah, this is the full breakdown I have. But if you're looking for more information on cost of living here, or you have any other questions or suggestions for videos like Adam did for this one, then please do leave them in the comments, and I would be happy to answer them. And also to mention, this video is part of a playlist on Slovakia. So if you'd like to see more of Slovakia, there's a chance that I might have covered a video that you'd be interested in. So take a look over here for the other videos I have on Slovakia. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Ďakujem za kliknutie na toto video. Čaute.